Hey everyone. By this point, you're probably tired of eating those holiday leftovers. So I want to play back an episode on one of my favorite restaurants in Houston, Aga's. From the fresh hot naan to their savory goat chops, Aga's has become a national name for South Asian cuisine while serving up to 3,000 customers over a weekend. So how did they get there? Owner Shaukat Maredia joins me to explain how his team turned things around after a rough start. It's Wednesday, December 27, 2023. I'm Raheel and here's what Houston is talking about. Shaukat Maredia, welcome into CityCast Houston. It's weird not calling you Shaukat Uncle. For those of you who don't know, in the South Asian culture, we call everybody Uncle. But I guess I had to keep it somewhat professional, right? So I didn't call you Shaukat Uncle.
That's okay. You can call me anything. We have tons of respect for each other.
Absolutely. Welcome into CityCast Houston. So excited to have you on. Before we jump in and talk about Aga's Restaurant and Catering, I want to know, what Indo-Pak restaurant did you go to before you owned Aga's?
Raheel, I used to be in Los Angeles. You know that, right? So we moved to Texas in 2007. At that time, there were a couple of restaurants. Royal was one of those, and Savoy was one of those. A restaurant that not very frequently, but whenever there was a wedding or you were invited, I went to those two restaurants that I can recall.
Nice. I love it. Those are staples. Growing up in Houston, we loved going to those restaurants as well. And it's part of the history of the Indo-Pak restaurant scene here in Houston. So tell me about, how did you come to own Aga's and the history of the restaurant?
So my family, we have no restaurant experience whatsoever. So my brother and one of my cousins one day said, "Hey, let's buy a restaurant." I'm like, "You guys are crazy. Owning a restaurant is easy, but operating is not easy, especially have no experience." So in 2011, we took over a restaurant. And 2011, 2012 was a huge struggle, especially not having the restaurant background. And it was managed by my brother and one of my cousins who initially bought this restaurant. After a couple of years, we were tired of it. We wanted to get rid of it. Like, this is not our cup of tea. Let's focus on what we're good at and not waste our time. But for some reason, I got involved in 2012 or 2013, and I noticed there was no process in place. Absolutely no process. And it was managed just like another typical Desi restaurant. I don't know if people will understand Desi restaurant, but that's Indo-Pak restaurant. And then we realized that to be successful, you got to think mainstream. You got to think outside the box. And we made a lot of changes. We made changes with food consistency. We made changes with customer service. Our Desi establishments are known to have a rude customer service, if any customer service.
Yes.
And I don't like that. My background is hospitality. And in hospitality, you got to take care of your clients. We brought additional staff to give better customer service. You know how it was traditionally that you go to the counter, you place your order, and somebody will bring it to you, or you go and get it yourself. I changed all that. And we made it a full service restaurant. Staff comes with technology. Technology is huge at Aga's. You place your order right at the table. You pay your tab at the table. Very efficient. It's easier for staff who takes orders, and also those who are in the kitchen. Makes it very streamlined. So a lot of those changes made Aga's what it is today.
So from the moment that you stepped into the operations and implemented these changes, what was that like from that moment on? How much longer did it take for the restaurant to work and actually succeed?
Aga's had a bad reputation before we took over. And first 2 years of operation under us was not very successful. So it was like swimming against the waves. You try harder, but then there is somebody's talking bad about you. But then people like you who had great experience, and they went out and start sharing with their friends and family that, hey, I went to August, it was a great experience. And even as of last month, we keep growing. It's such an
Yeah.
incredible story that after 12 years, we're still growing.
Was there one moment that changed everything? Because I'm with you. Like I was one of those customers that before Aga's became Aga's that it is now, I was like, oh, whatever. It's just Aga's. It's just another restaurant. Was there something that took it from being the old Aga's and made it to the mainstream Aga's that we know now?
I wouldn't say that was an overnight success. It was a slow process. As people came to Agas, they had a great experience. And that keep multiplying. You know, the news spreads. When you have exceptional customer service, people will talk about it. If you have a really bad service, customer will talk about it. If you're mediocre, you're average, nobody wants to talk about you. So my staff, my family members, especially my brothers, they stepped up and made a commitment that let's give each person that comes to August, give them memorable experience so that they keep coming back.
I love that.
At the time, we had 127 chairs and 3 servers. That's all we had.
Wow.
I know you probably remember. And on the Friday nights or Saturday nights, we would have maximum not even 100 customers served per day. Now, somewhere between 3,000 to 4,000 customers are served on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. Each day, over 3,000 people. You know that our sitting capacity with the banquet hall is over 800 people. And
Yeah.
people are still lined up to dine. So it's crazy. It's a great experience. And it would be unfair for me not to mention Sufyan. He was a great addition to Agaz. That guy took it very personal to build this business. And as much of an impact I had or my brothers had, he had just as much of impact on the business.
That's one of the reasons, you keep bringing up the employees, specifically guys like Sufyan. And every time I walk in there, I see the same faces, right? It could be between months, it could be weeks, it could be a year. And it seems like the same people are working. And in a time right now where restaurants are struggling to find somebody to work at restaurants, it seems like Agas is doing a great job of keeping employees. So like, what is that about? How are you doing that?
I'm offended by you calling them employees.
Oh, I'm sorry.
They are not at Agas. At Agas, you're not an employee. You're a family member, and
Yes.
I make it very personal for them. I make sure that they enjoy being at Agas. You know, a lot of employers throw money at their employees, hoping that they would be happy. I've been an employer for many, many years, and money will take you not too far. But the way you treat them, the way you make them feel, you celebrate their success, their special days. It's what's important to me. And in return, you see that they're always smiling. And Raheel, you're not the only one with this compliment. We get a lot of our guests compliment me about how wonderful the staff is. And I take great pride with that. I want to make sure that they're number one for me, not my customer. To me, my staff is number one priority for me. In return, they take care of the customers.
Absolutely. And that is one of the highlights. The other highlight, which I think everyone talks about, is the food. Okay, so let's talk about this. Was there a major haul and major change on the menu and the way you were cooking and recipes? Or was it pretty much the same thing and you just refined it?
So the chefs were the same. We hired additional chefs to bring more variety to the menu. So we have 6 or 7 chefs at this time right now, which is tons of experience. If you take Amin's chef's been cooking since he was 16 years old, and he's 70 plus, and he's still working at Aga's, and he's still happy at Aga's.
Wow.
Jafar Bhai is the same story. He left his house at age of 14, and he got his first job at the restaurant, and he's been with Aga since we took over, even before we took over. Noor, he was a professional chef in Pakistan. He brought his unique ideas to Aga's. So a little bit of everything.
So which chef is responsible for the legendary goat chops? Who brought that to the menu? Because that is by far your most popular item, right?
Absolutely. That was the original recipe from Chef Ali.
Okay.
The only people at Aga's know about the chops recipe is Chef Amin and my brother. Nobody else knows what's in goat chops. I don't even know what's in it. They won't even tell me. So it's they're very protective of our recipes.
Yeah, and it truly shines. Like every time you're there, it's always good. And when you're serving up to 3,000 people in one night in an 800 seating room, you have to be consistent, because if you're not, there's going to be more issues, right?
Absolutely. Consistency and process is key to success, right?
Yeah.
If you don't have the process, it's going to break down. One of the best compliments we get is everybody from your restaurant knows what they're supposed to do. Even after having 800 people being served at one time, it's smooth, very smooth operation.
So much fun. It's so awesome to see that system rolling. You've probably noticed that CityCast ads don't sound like other podcast ads. And that's because we're not just reciting national ad scripts, we're using our own words to talk about local businesses that we know and care about. Our ads are frequently passionate and they're always heartfelt. CityCast is doing things differently, and that's one reason we just won Adweek's Podcast Innovator of the Year award. This is personal for us. Our heart is in it. And when you place an ad with CityCast, our heart is in that as well. So if you're interested in getting your business or product in front of people who care about Houston as much as we do, consider placing an ad with CityCast, the Podcast Innovators of the Year. And it's not just our city, by the way. CityCast has dedicated local teams in Boise, Chicago, Denver, DC, Madison, Philly, Pittsburgh, Portland, Salt Lake, Las Vegas, and soon Austin and Nashville. Place an ad today in the cities that matter to your company. Reach out by emailing us at ads@citycast.fm. That's ads@citycast.fm. Okay, for a CityCast Houston listener who's never been to Aga's, what do you recommend that they try on the menu?
They have to come 365 days and try everything on the menu. Because everything is so unique, it's so authentic. Aga's is not like typical Indian Pakistani restaurants where they have 3 different types of curry sauce and they put a little bit of this, a little bit of that and make your dishes. Aga's, every dish is prepared from scratch. Every dish, your biryanis, your kadais, your tikka masalas, makhni, butter chicken, it's prepared from scratch. However, first thing, if anybody who's listening right now and you come to Aga's for the first time, you will be asked, what is your preference? Do you like goat? Do you like chicken? Do you like curry? Or do you like barbecued? And based on that, we will recommend. The 2 things I recommend to everyone to try at Aga's, whether you like goat or not, whether you like chicken or not, try our goat chops. Try our chicken lollipops. Those are my favorite items from the menu. And chicken tikka masala, our kadais are very unique. So there is tons of options, and doesn't matter what you try, Raheel, or your listeners, they will love it. And we guarantee it. We guarantee it. If you don't like it, you let us know. We'll replace it for you. It's no questions asked.
I always recommend the Raheel plate, okay, which is you get the paneer makhni, you get white chicken kebab,
Okay.
The karai, and 1 naan and rice. and that's all you need.
That's a great meal.
I'm like, I just consistently get that, and then I'll come on Sunday for the halwa puri brunch. Oh my gosh,
yeah.
that's if you go on a Sunday, you're in for a treat. Or on the weekend, Saturday or Sunday, the brunch is so good. So there's so many options. There's so many different things. I have to ask you about this. A lot of people don't know. You've got the restaurant side, which is, again, we talked about how massive it is. But then there's also this equally massive, if not bigger, catering side. Tell me about this operation, because every time I go to a wedding, Aga's is there. It doesn't matter if I'm in San Antonio, if I'm in Houston, Austin. Tell me about this catering operation.
Raheel, catering is a big deal. Catering is once in a lifetime event, right? Somebody's getting married, and that's the only opportunity Aga's has to impress them and make it memorable. So, number one, to be successful in catering business, you have to have a process. Means you have to have a kitchen, you have to have staff, you have to have the variety of food. We do have that. We have a 6,000 square foot kitchen. We have tons of vehicles. We have like 7 chefs. And all of these guys take great pride in making each event memorable. From the start to end, when you decide to make that first phone call to book Aga's, you get professional staff will handle your call. The one of the best thing and most unique thing about Aga's is it's very stress-free. From the time you decide to hire Aga's until the event is finished, we are involved. We will walk you through the menu process. We'll do a venue site visit to make sure that everything is organized ahead of time. And on the day of, my staff is fully prepared to carry out this event and make it a memorable. It's the most personal to me when it comes to restaurant business, because each event is very unique, and shame on us if you let anyone down.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
On a busy night where, let's go a Saturday night where you've got 800 people in the dining room and expecting about 2,000, 3,000 people, 2 events, how many people are working for Aga's on a night like that?
So any Friday night, Saturday night, you will find over 150 people, just the staff.
Just at the restaurant?
Just at the restaurant. Then based on the size of the catering, we have contract labor that comes in and takes care of that. So we could have over 200 employees on any single night with catering and restaurant.
That is incredible. One last thing before I let you go. Education has always been super important to you. And you started a scholarship fund that I want to talk about last year. Tell me about this, and what kind of difference are you making through the scholarship fund?
You know, you're absolutely right. You know my kids, right? They're both, alhamdulillah, highly educated. They can go anywhere in the world and survive. Business can fail. You might lose your business, but your education, you will never lose. And you know this old sayings that don't fish for them, teach them how to fish. I think education is the same thing. You educate them with whatever you can support with. And not only you're going to change that person's life, you're going to change family life. You're going to change the life of that family's like for generations. So I think all businesses should be involved in the community. Whatever they can do, any small, large donation, scholarships, it's really important to us. And there are a lot of stories being shared with me about how much they're struggling to make this transition from graduating from high school to college. Some of us are blessed not to have that issues, but some of the families struggle. And little things that we do that helps them a lot, whether it's a down payment for a car or down payment for their apartment deposits or school fees. It's really important to me. Education is so crucial to have a better life. And Raheel, not only the education credit, we do tons of charity work, whether it's a nonprofit organization wanting to support somebody who's struggling with food, During COVID, we gave away thousands of meals absolutely free of charge. I mean, it's those kind of things. If community needs some medical support, medical help, we're always there. So I think it's important to be involved in the community, because the way our community supports Agas, it would be absolutely shameful if we don't give back to the community.
It's perfectly said. On that note, thank you so much for joining us. You got to go out to Aga's, order it, enjoy it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Let me make a promise to you and your listeners. Come to Aga's. If you're not happy, there is no charge.
Wow. There you go. You can't beat that promise. Thank you, Shaukat Uncle.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for your support. You've always been a big supporter of Aga's. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Nice talking to you. Take care.
That was Shaukat Maredia, the owner of Aga's. You can browse their entire menu with the link in our show notes. That will do it for today. Thank you for listening, and I hope you learned something new. It's a recorded interview. We can stop anytime. You can just say, hey, I just want to stop for a second.
No.
No big deal.
Keep it going.